Good morning and welcome back to the morning after. So the Winnipeg Jets make it five straight, beating Dallas for the first time this year in a game that's as close to the blueprint as you can get. Now, I'm nowhere near as convinced as the public perception suggesting this was a rout and the Jets were the much better team. I thought this was a pretty close game that the Jets really did well at slowing the Dallas Stars down, especially in transition most of the night. But both teams had their chances, and Laurent Brossoit, in my opinion, deserves more credit than I've kind of seen. He made some awfully big saves. The Winnipeg Jets didn't allow a whole lot of quality, but when they did, it was high-end quality, and Laurent Brossoit was up to the task all night. This guy has to be the number one or number two backup in the NHL right now. The only reason I could even say number two is because Boston has two starting caliber goaltenders. I mean, 32 goals against his last 18 starts. He's only allowed 3 goals or more twice this year. He has to be the number one free agent goalie teams look to solve their issues, right? Like Michael says, discover the great Brossoit. He's been fantastic. It's been great to watch. Let's get into the game. Nick Ehlers caps off the game with the first goal of the game in very much a playoff style goal. Toffoli and Monahan crash the net, and Dallas's D panics and throws it up the middle, where Nick Ehlers was driving in to join the scramble, and he buries his 24th. Should be no surprise that Nick Ehlers continues to be successful, even when he's played as a third liner. This is the most underappreciated, underused talent in Winnipeg Jets 2.0 history. The fact that people continue to argue that this is not their best winger or deserves more is insane. I mean, this guy now, Nick Ehlers, despite playing on the third line most of the year, 13 minutes a night, 14 minutes a night, leads the Winnipeg Jets in 5-on-5 points. Leads. Yes, that's real points. Real points. And here's how Lions do with and without him. The fact that people continue to debate against this despite all actual logic and results, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's this whole fake news thing. Like, oh, what about real goals? Oh, did you think about this? Yeah. Every real goal metric shows how much better everyone is next to Nick Ehlers. But moving on, because this game was about the Winnipeg Jets' depth, in my opinion. So it's time to highlight them. Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton's line continue to drive the bus for this team down the stretch. Just like we saw last year as the games got tougher, it was that line that really stepped up. And last night it was next to David Gustafsson, who, if you're like really into the Winnipeg Jets, you'd know this is a prospect a lot of people have been higher on than most. To some, he might be just that obscure guy in the system. But I truly believe David Gustafsson is a quality depth NHLer, and a game like last night continues to make me a believer. It was his first goal in 30-something games, but scores on his birthday with a tip. And he brought that speed and grind that does so well with this line. Now, it's the end of the year, so we're not going to see it. You know basically that David Gustafsson could come into the bottom six when there's an injury, and Cole Perfetti likely comes into the top six if there's an injury. I imagine is where this goes. But the Gus Bus, man, how can you not respect his game? Size, strength, speed. Makes players around him better. That line cooked. They were the best line all night. And all three guys deserve some love. I mean, here's what Lowry and Appleton have done on the season in over 855 minutes. They absolutely control the high danger areas, which is massive for this team. They're a plus 12 5-on-5 goal advantage. Obviously, they don't score, but they really don't allow any either. Home ice battle on Saturday against Colorado. A big reason for that line's importance, or that game's importance, is you want this line against McKinnon, a possible 4 to 7 games. Nathan McKinnon wants the Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor line 4 out of 7 games because they will get absolutely victimized. I mean, it was pretty funny that we saw victory laps on the top line being successful when, once again, they're under 50%. They got hemmed in 3 times in the first half of that game. They created their first chances with 3 minutes left in the second, and we have media and fans taking victory laps about that performance. Let's settle the fuck down here. I mean, Mark Scheifele had 1 shot on goal, and Kyle Connor had 1 shot on goal until the empty netter, when they looked their best when they had an empty netter. Let's slow down a little on that one, because we were watching completely different games. I think people are getting a little caught in their own narratives. People are going to say that about me. Go watch the film. Go watch shift number 2 for that line. Go watch, it was either first or second shift in the second period, where they start with an offensive zone icing and still manage to play in their own zone the entire shift, which should not happen with guys of that talent level. And just watch how easily the Dallas Stars break out against that line. Cale Makar and Nate MacKinnon are going to absolutely expose it. But Winnipeg Jets win. Their depth came through. So did their goaltending. 5-game win streak. This is the kind of game that gives you some reason to believe again. Though we haven't seen them put together consistently. They do something like this against Colorado, you're going to hear a different tone from me. But to pretend like everything was solved last night, I think is absurd. Let's also give some love to Logan Stanley, who, polarizing player. And you know what? He's played some solid physical hockey of late. He's been solid. You gotta say what it is. He's been a solid NHL defenseman, a good 6 or 7. And that is better than what we were seeing from Logan Stanley for years. Dylan Samberg deserves a ton of credit on that pair as well. He may have had the play of the game defensively when a 2-on-0 snuck behind Samberg and Stan. And Samberg gets back and makes the desperation play. He continues to look like an absolute mainstay, in my opinion. But shout out to those two. Big one against Colorado. That's all we're looking for at this point. Enjoy the game Saturday night. Home ice on the line. Should be a doozy.